From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your evening update.
American Door Company has been family owned and operated for over 29 years, supplying Northern California with quality garage doors, garage door openers, and installed with the best service you'd expect from a locally owned company. We serve all of Northern California from Willows all the way up to the Oregon state line. Give us a call today.
Hello everyone, quick reminder, if you have a smart TV in general, you buy it from the store, you connect it to the internet, you can get YouTube on that smart TV. Just search for Weather NorCal and on that YouTube app, and you can watch the 24-hour streaming channel. So you can watch this video, you can watch whatever you want that's on the YouTube channel. Now, if you have a Roku or an Amazon Fire Stick, there's an app for those devices. All you have to do is search for Weather NorCal, download those apps for free, and you can watch the 24-hour streaming channel. By the way, reminder that you can watch on your big screen TV, whether it's Roku, YouTube, Fire Stick. You can also watch from Facebook. You'll be able to watch from X, from weathernorcal.com and the free Weather NorCal app. I will be doing a live broadcast at 6:30 this evening. Of course, that's Wednesday evening. Of course, covering the fires that we had. Of course, the main one, the Thompson Fire, but covering some of the other fires out there as well. We're going to talk about that in more detail. If you have questions about it, I'll be sure to answer those as well. I'll be very interactive. So if you're on Facebook or X or even YouTube, you can interact and ask questions. So be sure to check that out. That's this evening at 6:30. Taking a look at your weather headlines. It looks like we're going to be looking at extended heat wave, and it's going to go into all of next week. When I say well into next week, basically all of next week. This heat wave is going to stick around. Warm overnight lows, breezy conditions tonight, but I do expect those winds to eventually die down by tomorrow afternoon. So still breezy tonight. Look at the high temperatures we've seen so far. Over 110 degrees is the case. That's what was expected. Although Chico at about 108, 109 out in Oroville along the coast. Yeah, much cooler there, right? 98 degrees for Bernie, and I bet you we may have been closer to 100 degrees there, quite honestly. And of course, over 100 degrees for both Weaverville and Hayfork. All right, so here's your neighborhood at a glance for tomorrow. Here we go. 110 degrees plus again for the valley. Trinity County could get up close to 110. 90s, even some triple digits for some of the higher elevations and the coast. Looks like you'll eventually be back down into the 70s. All right, let's take a look at the Thompson Fire. These are some of the latest heat signatures that are coming in, showing some of those hot spots that we've seen. Now, I think most of the hot spots that we're seeing here are from earlier today because we did see less activity through the second half of the day. This is the heat signature coming in from yesterday. So you can see the growth basically moved northward and eastward. That just kind of shows you the overall growth. As we go into tomorrow, this will probably hopefully be yellow, indicating that it's older data, and hopefully you don't see much new data after that. Here's a look at the latest Thompson Fire perimeter. Now, this is from earlier this morning. The latest hasn't come down just yet, but of course I'll be sure to keep a close eye on that. Hopefully maybe for the live broadcast at 6:30 we'll have the latest perimeter in here. But this is the perimeter. You can see right here. Of course, you've got Kelly Ridge Road right there. Now, here's what we're going to do. Here's the dam, and there's Lake Oroville. Let's take you around the perimeter of the fire, give you an idea of where it is. So you've got Bessie Lane right here, Canyon Drive, right? So you've got this little spot right here, Almond Avenue. Now, to the west of that, keep in mind, even if your house or your home is inside this perimeter, does not mean that it burned, okay? I want you to remember that. There's Oro Dam Boulevard. All right, let's take you up to the north now. Of course, there's the dam right here. There's Oro Dam Boulevard. You can kind of see that where that Oro Dam Boulevard kind of loops around and then takes a shift off to the east here, or turn to the east. And then, of course, we don't have the fire perimeter there where the parking lot is, for example. All right, we take you up to the southwest side of the lake. Of course, it's along the shore there. Really no streets to really report in that one, but you can see here that we do have Oregon Gulch Road, View Lane, of course, another one right next to it called View Lane, and then Oregon Gulch Road that kind of winds through that area. And then, of course, you've got Cherokee Road, which looks like, yeah, it kind of comes down through here. Cherokee Road down into the shore there, just kind of west of that bank there. There's Big O Road, of course, reported this morning that it wasn't quite on there, but there you can see Cherokee Road here. And then we'll kind of take you to the south of the river here. Almond Street, but South Almond Street, not in the fire perimeter. Long Bar Road looks to be just outside of it, as well as Long Bar Court. And then, of course, we take you down to the south and east, and there you can see Oro Dam Boulevard again, where it kind of swings around here, and then we're kind of getting back to where we started here with Bessie Lane. So just kind of zooming out, There you can kind of see, again, one more look at that fire perimeter. Hopefully we get a new one this evening. If not, the next one will be tomorrow morning. Take a look at some distances just to kind of give you an idea. From Oroville proper, center of town, about 2 miles, 2.4 miles from South Oroville. Hurlton, about 4.8 miles, but honestly, that doesn't matter because there's a fire we're going to be telling you about that's in the Hurlton area. Oregon City, 2.2 miles. So just kind of give you a general idea of its distance to some of the local communities. What's the smoke expected to do? Well, as we go into tonight, we're going to see it shift more to the south, so just south of Chico. It looks like it's getting pretty smoky there. Then we take you into tomorrow morning. That may shift a little bit to the north. So maybe a little bit of a haze for places like Red Bluff and Redding, but most of the smoke and really doesn't look to be all that dense as we head into Chico, to the south of that as well. Then we go into noon on Thursday. Again, maybe a bit of a haze out there with most of the smoke. Now, I do expect to see the winds maybe pick up a little bit tomorrow afternoon, and that should maybe push some smoke out towards Quincy and a little bit hazy as you kind of head to the north of the fire. And then, of course, as we go into your Friday morning, looks like, again, some haze, but it doesn't look like the fire. Now, again, keep in mind, too, this smoke will depend on just how active the fire is or, quite honestly, isn't. Now, before we get to the red flag warnings, we're going to take a look at some other data here that I wanted to show you here. And here you can see this is the Sunset Hill camera. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to go ahead and play a loop, or should I say a time lapse from the last 3 hours. And again, you see it hasn't really been producing a lot of smoke and hasn't really been, very active. So that is really good news when, of course, we're talking about this fire. Here's kind of the latest coming on in, and as we get closer to the time frame that we're looking at right about now, look at the winds. You can see those winds, the waves coming from the lake that are coming toward the camera. So that's generally kind of the direction that the smoke is going to want to kind of move in as well. All right, let's go ahead and take you up north. This, of course, is a different fire that we're looking at. What's the name of this one? I already forgot. It is the Shelly Fire. Now, let's take a look at the Shelly Fire. Let's take a look at the last 3 hours. And look at that. I mean, just a big, this is kind of looking from the Etna in Fort Jones. This is coming in from Scott Valley. You can see all of the activity from the planes. You can see the red streaks in there from the fire retardant that they're putting on the fire here. So this has been a very active fire. Last check, 224 acres. And again, keep in mind, I'm recording this between 5 and 6 p.m. So that's something you need to keep in mind when you are watching this. But unfortunately, yes, we're dealing with that. Now, let's take a look at the plumes of smoke. There's the plume of smoke up north out from the Shelly Fire. Of course, you can see right here. Here is the Shelly Fire right here. That's all that smoke we were seeing here on the ground here. The satellite is, of course, picking that up. And we're just not seeing a lot of smoke here in the last few frames of this. It's kind of confirming what I was talking about, how the Shelly Fire, the Thompson Fire just doesn't seem to be quite as active, which is obviously good news. Now, we take a look at those heat signatures, and there you can see here quite a heat signature coming in from the Shelly Fire. Right? Let's go right before, yeah. So you can kind of see earlier, right here, this is earlier today when the fire was kind of at its peak. That's the Shelly Fire. See how bright that is, burning very hot. Very faint coming in from the Thompson Fire earlier today. Now what I'm going to do here is you can kind of see and take reference to where I was just pointing. And we're going to show you here as we kind of get closer to the current hour. The Shelly Fire is showing signs that it's not burning as hot. This is obviously good news. Hopefully they're getting a handle on the fire and we're seeing it burn less hot, meaning hopefully it is less active as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at all of the fires in the air. I tell you what, my phone has just been giving me notifications nonstop because of all the new fires. So there's the Shelly Fire, 224 acres, no evacuations coming in from that one. If we take a look at the Olinda Fire, unfortunately, there are evacuations. Let's go ahead and zoom in where those evacuations are. So you got the town of Olinda right here. Olinda Road is the north end of those fire orders. This is the evacuation orders, by the way. Red is orders. And then, of course, Olinda Road and Mont Vista Road is the north here. So if you head south of Olinda Road, that is where you're going to have the evacuation orders. It's at 20 acres right now. This was updated just a few seconds ago from when I'm reporting on this. So be sure to, of course, take note of that. All right, let's zoom it out here, and we got the Basler Fire. Fortunately, they've been able to get a handle on that one. That was at about 1/4 of an acre, so good to see that they were able to get a handle on that one. Then, of course, we've got the Thompson Fire. Latest coming in on this one 3 hours ago from between 5 and 6 this evening, 3,568 acres. We've also got the Dunstone Fire. This is 30 minutes ago at 8 acres. There is an evacuation order from the Grubbs Fire, unfortunately. And there you can see just north of where the fire is. So Grubbs Road, north of Grubbs Road is where you have an evacuation order. And then, of course, just north of that is where you've got an evacuation warning. So, I mean, again, this is just nonstop. There's the Hewelton Fire. And remember, I was mentioning the distance from the Thompson Fire. The good news is it's at 1.5 acres, and it looks like they've been able to stop the forward progress. So that is good. So unfortunately, you know, I was hoping it was just the Thompson Fire that I'd have to report on. But unfortunately, there are other fires that I've had to report on as well. Now, why are the fires starting? We don't know why, but it's not good when they start under the red flag warning conditions, and that's what we've seen here for today. This is going to continue through tonight, and then eventually this should be allowed to expire. But it's still going to be dry, and it's still going to be hot. So there you can see here, that's what it looks like today. As we go into tomorrow, though, we're in that moderate risk. So again, we're seeing better conditions for fires, but it's still hot and it's still dry. So look at the winds tomorrow morning. Still a little breezy in some spots here, especially some of the foothills. But overall, as we go into tomorrow afternoon, we're just not looking at very strong winds. A little breezy at times for some of us, but again, not as bad as it has been over the last few days. This should help the firefighters, especially the Thompson Fire, not to mention now the Shelly Fire in western Siskiyou County. But there you can see Friday, again, a little breezy, but not a major wind event. Now look at the humidity levels for tomorrow morning. We're not going to see much recovery down towards Chico and Oroville, for that matter, down to the teens. That's not the recovery we need for the firefighters, but at least the winds won't be blowing that strong. Then we go into tomorrow afternoon. There's the very dry conditions, even in Trinity County. We go into Friday morning, we're seeing some better recovery for the valley in particular, but then it dries out again for Friday afternoon. Very dry conditions. So the fire weather risk for your Thursday is still within the kind of in that high to very high range. We're seeing just a lot of those oranges here, but look at the mountains. We're still seeing a lot of these yellows and oranges in there as well, keeping that fire danger kind of in that moderate to high range for many of the mountain locations. And of course, for the valley, unfortunately, look at this, again, with slightly higher winds, very hot temperatures, and the dry conditions, we're kind of in that high, getting into the very high, close to extreme range in some cases. Heat alerts, there's basically an excessive heat warning for the areas in red here. The orange is where you have a heat advisory. Basically, all these times are going to expire at different times, but for the most part, it's through next Tuesday. And you may recall a couple of days ago, I was mentioning this is going to extend northward, and there it is. Look at that. Washington, Oregon, California. Now it's beginning to extend eastward now too. Most of Nevada, Idaho, seeing parts of these watches and warnings. So this heat is having an impact on the entire western United States. Now the winds, as I mentioned, is because of this area of high pressure right here. The rotation around that high has been giving us the gusty winds over the last few days. However, as that ridge of high pressure barrels on top of us, the good news is the winds die down. The bad news is now we've got the center of that dome of high pressure right on top of Northern California Friday and Saturday. This is when I expect the hottest temperatures, but again, the winds, not a big factor. So that's the good. The bad is we could be breaking an all-time high in the Redding area with a high of about 118 expected. That's the all-time high, by the way. There you can see, then by Sunday, we see some very minor relief. And I mean that because the main dome is here, but we're still on the outer fringes of that heat. And look at this ridge of high pressure. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That ridge is not going anywhere. If anything, it's building more to the north. That's going to keep those temperatures between at least 105 and 110 degrees in the valley. It's going to continue through the week. And we take a look at the 10-day trend for Redding in particular. Again, the all-time record for Redding is 118. Okay, that's the official high. It's happened 3 times in the time that the records have been taken since 1893. Okay, We could see that again this upcoming Saturday. If we do, it'll be the earliest of the 4 times that it would happen. And then you can see temperatures do dip, but I mean, it's still very hot as we go into next week. So remember, I was talking about 110 plus degree temperatures, consecutive days. The highest number of consecutive days of 110 plus degree temperatures was in 1978, 1988, 10 years later. And then in 1920 it was 5 days. So you saw how we could, I'm going to take you back to it, the trend. So of course, today we already saw 110. So 1 is today, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that we could very easily at least match the record of 6 consecutive days, if not beat it, because I mean, we're getting borderline here. All we have to do is take this and drop it down to 109 and we break that stretch and then maybe back up to 110 the next day. But we could keep that stretch 6, 7, 8 days, not out of the question. I didn't mean to go back in time here. All right, let's advance to the next map here. Oh, there we go. I kind of messed things up when I tried to go back. So we talked about the consecutive days. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the National Weather Service heat risk. They put this out to kind of give it an idea of how hot it's going to be. So when you have the red and purple, that's basically major and extreme. Essentially what this means is any healthy person, I don't care how healthy you are, you can be impacted by this. So you cannot, it's just not a good idea to overexert yourself. We take you into your Friday. Pretty much the same story. We have the major to extreme heat out there, but look at that excessive extreme heat over the valley and some of the surrounding foothills and even the mountains. That is going to expand on Saturday. As we go into Sunday, you see it kind of shrinks a little bit. Then we go into Monday of next week, not much shrinking there. And then we go into Tuesday, it shrinks a little bit more in the major to extreme, but you get the idea. This is going to last, you know, the advisories, the warnings are all lasting through Tuesday. It may be extended longer, quite honestly, because this is going to be a heat wave that extends through all of next week, as you saw in the extended outlook. The wave heights actually should begin to drop a bit here going into tomorrow afternoon, and not to mention your Friday. Certainly some good news if you do need to be out on a small boat, but there is still a hazardous seas warning going through the evening tonight that may eventually be lifted by tomorrow morning. So here's what it looks like tonight. Quite honestly, these temperatures may be on the cool side, probably somewhere in the upper 70s, even some low 80s for those overnight early morning lows. Temperatures in the mountains will be in the 50s. Mount Shasta City, about 60, 63 degrees for Trinity Center, and about 58 degrees in Hayfork. So let's take a look at your Trinity County neighborhood forecast, and what we're seeing here are temperatures over 100 degrees pretty much almost anywhere you go, with the exception of Mad River at 96. Temperatures 100 degrees or higher all the way through next Wednesday in Weaverville, not to mention places like Hayfork. Your North Coast neighborhood forecast, 70s through Saturday, even Sunday. Then we're back down to the 60s by the time we get to Monday, Tuesday of next week. For the inland areas, probably 100 degrees or higher all the way through the extended period for the next 7 days, if not longer. Siskiyou County, yeah, look at that. Even Mount Shasta, 100 degrees by tomorrow. The peak is on Saturday, and then we're again down to around 100 degrees by next Wednesday. There's your Modoc County neighborhood forecast. Tomorrow, still in the mid-90s, but I do expect triple digits by Friday, and that'll continue into Wednesday of next week. And your Eastern Mountains neighborhood forecast for Susanville, right around 100 degrees Thursday, and then, of course, over 100 degrees here through Wednesday of next week. And your Valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by NorCal Tractor. There, of course, you can see the temperatures. It's hot. I mean, there's just no other way to express this. It's just going to be downright hot. 112 for Redding, 111 degrees for Red Bluff and Cottonwood. And we take a look at your 7-day outlook for Redding. Remember, I was talking about 110 degrees plus. So again, if this forecast verifies, we're already talking 7 straight days, including what we saw today. So that would be 8 straight days. Could that happen? Not out of the question. Could it be even longer than that? We'll see. But definitely a long stretch as this heat wave continues, as we go through all of next week.
At Cottonwood Small Animal Clinic and Cottonwood Veterinary Clinic, we're here to provide the best possible care for your patients. We understand that your pet is your family member, and when your family member is sick, they need urgent help.
All our staff is so passionate about the care that goes into all your little creatures. Making relationships with pet parents here in Cottonwood is the greatest feeling in the world. Come find us off the Gas Point exit here in the heart of Cottonwood.